consider yourself normal? Then this is not the show for you. Please go somewhere else. This is WYRD. If it's getting weird, it's got to be the Weird Mountain Gals show. You're listening to Byron and Alicia, the Weird Mountain Gals.
Welcome to the Hotel California.
Oh, God. Now you earwormed me. You earwormed me at the start of the podcast. You earwormed me. Oh, my God.
Oh, it's a weird song. I remember my mother, of course, hated any music I listened to when I was a teenager that wasn't classical music. But she heard that song and she went, well, now that would make a really good book. That's a really interesting story, Hotel California. Yeah.
A book, yes.
Yeah.
And well, of course, it was the song that that they rallied against in the Christian schools.
Yes.
Oh, man. I mean, that was, and of course, they would dissect it and tell you why. And of course, stab it in the steely heart because you just can't kill the beast. That was it. That was it.
You mean they didn't focus on pink champagne on ice?
No. Oh, no.
We are all just prisoners here of our own device.
Yep. No, they focused on the next batch of lines.
Yeah.
And they were.
I want to hear the country version of Hotel California. And I want to be Hotel Carolina.
Hotel Carolina.
No,
it would be Motel.
Yeah.
Motel. Welcome to the Motel Carolina.
Motel Carolina. That's what your band ought to do. Motel Carolina.
Oh.
Welcome to Motel Carolina.
I remember my uncle.
Sorry.
No, I love that. See, you're earwormed yourself. But
I know.
I
remember. I got the technique for getting rid of the earworm. You just got to sing a little bit of gospel music. And then it's like, boop, all gone.
Brenda, that we were talking about earlier, she used to have us sing that Daddy Sang Bass.
Oh, Lord.
You remember that one? Daddy Sang
Bass.
Yeah. She loved that song. And
that's one of those things. I always like to switch it around, like Mama sang bass, Daddy sang tenor. And what's the other one? In summertime, your mama's rich and your daddy's good looking.
Oh, yeah. That's that is also from a musical.
That's Gershwin, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It sure is. That's
Porgy and Beth.
Yes.
That was my mother's favorite song, Summertime. We had it sung at her funeral.
That's a standard, a classic.
It is.
That was a funeral song? Wow.
Well, I had a friend of mine sang it at her memorial because it was her favorite song.
Aw, that is so cool.
I know. I was a good daughter.
You were a good daughter. I think you probably were.
No, not. I was never up to her standards, I'm afraid.
Well, don't feel bad because I know exactly what that is like.
Yeah.
And I just, for the most part, I generally don't care about stuff like that.
Well,
but when it's your mother,
I cared passionately about that sort of thing for a long time. But my mother broke me of it because I could not be the daughter she apparently needed and wanted. So I made a determination about 5 years before she died that I was going to be the kind of daughter I wanted to be.
There you go.
Like if I had a daughter, that's what she would be like.
And
so that's how I behaved.
I tend to think that would make you like a much better mom. because
Oh my, yeah, I broke that chain. I got to tell you, I broke that chain hard.
yeah, I can't actually relate to not having any children, but I do remember being on a job one time, and for a number of years, I told myself that if I ever got her job, I would never be the boss that she was. And it's like I watched her doing all this stuff that was not good and hurtful to the employees and just stupid. And I just swore I would never do that. It's like, well, okay, that's one time that it kind of worked in my favor. So, but I imagine you were the cool mom too, though. I mean, I don't know.
Oh,
That,
I think I was not bad, but I was older than most of the moms, so that made a little different.
That could have made it better, even.
Well, it made it better for me, and there's no question I was a better mother for waiting as long as I did.
Yeah.
Than if I'd done it years before. So yeah, no, I got no regrets on that at all.
Yeah. So see, you didn't. The perfect family. It didn't exist for you, but it made you a better mom. And it's like, I don't really think many people have a perfect family. Do you?
No, I don't. And I think I have always been somebody who learned best from observing people who did something badly.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you were saying with that boss lady.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot of things by watching somebody do something and just screw it up.
Yeah.
And then I would go, well, okay, that's not the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to try it a different way. So I've learned from many people's bad examples. And I hope people have learned from my bad examples as well.
Yeah. And I'm sure I've been a lesson to a few people. You remember that meme that went around a while back and it said, well, maybe your purpose in life was to be a lesson to other people. And it's like, oh God, that talk about a mixed blessing curse fortune cookie or something,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But it's a good way to kind of segue into the subject matter.
That was good. I was about to say you have been hoeing a hard row lately, and I think you wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Well, I do, and there's a picture that's coming together in a more full way in my brain about these subjects that I tend to just kind of go blah and just talk about wildly for a little while, and then you don't hear anything from me about it. But one subject that I feel strongly about is preparing yourself for end of life.
And I want to say to everybody before you get started, and I'm excited to hear what you're about to say, is that when we started the pre-show today, we're not recording that. We just have a little pre-Zoom. And when Alicia came on, she came on emotionally with her hair on fire. It was profound. And I knew something was up and I knew something was wrong and something was plaguing her. So she told me a little bit about it. And now she's going to tell y'all a little bit about what she's come up with and come up to. So yeah. You do it, darling.
I go off about these things about getting ready for the end of life by getting a will and doing your Facebook stuff and taking care of your loose ends if you can. And I recently just had a friend who'd been a friend for a number of decades who died. And unfortunately, because of some of these preparation things that didn't get done or were done incorrectly, I'm one of her best friends, and I don't even know what she died of. And I wasn't allowed to see her at the end of her life. And part of the reason that I wasn't is because the spiteful sister that she never wanted to have involved with her end of life was administering her estate and her end of life and ended up being her medical power of attorney. And this was all because, yeah. So this woman who really did not like this half sister of hers and often told me that she didn't want her involved when it came her time, this woman was making decisions that were important to her and her life and her estate. And at one point, and I didn't tell you this, Byron, because it didn't come into, it just wasn't something we were talking about at the time. But at one point, this half sister had called me on the phone, and she was kind of taunting me with her sister's impending death. And I would say to her, please, can I go see her? I promise I won't cause any trouble. I would just like a supervised visit, just 5 minutes with her. And the gal would just ignore me, and she'd go on and talk about some other horrible thing. And then she sent me a photograph of my friend on her deathbed. And I know my friend wouldn't have wanted that photo out there, and especially not in the cruel way that it was done. And so now my friend is dead, and I didn't see her, and I'm not administering her estate. And her sister, who, as I said, I spoke to her once on the day that my friend died, and she told me that hospice had been brought in, and she said, and I quote, well, they're just going to give her morphine and ease her out. And I told that nurse to just ease her on out. Let's just get this done.
Oh my gosh.
I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, I'm thankful that I really believe with all my heart that hospice and the employees are completely ethical. Okay.
Oh, me too.
I'm confident about that. But this woman, can you imagine? I can. I absolutely can imagine it.
Yeah. Because I do a lot of that kind of death midwifery stuff. And man, families can be awful. Awful.
They can be the worst. And it's, that sentence right there, just that whole, I told her, let's just get this done. I don't even know what to say about it. But I will tell you this. If you're in your 40s, my friend was 75 when she died. But I would say if you're old enough to have a damn job, then consider getting your end of life stuff together, because you just don't know. I mean, we had no way of knowing that my friend was going to have dementia at some point. I may have dementia at some point. I may have it now for all we know. I might be in the first stages of it. Well, and that's the reason that this gal's half sister was involved in the first place, because my friend was diagnosed with dementia and then changed her will to be the way that she wanted it. She got diagnosed first, though. And when the time came and her life was getting much shorter, the sister stepped in and had a judge step in as well. And they took over custody of her. And her will that she had done in good faith was useless. The judge said, sorry, you were diagnosed at this date, and this new will was after that date. So the only legal will is this first one that you had. So that's how all that happened, you see? And the whole situation is sad. There's lots of sad things about it. And that's the other thing. You need to know that just like in life, you're responsible for yourself. You really need to think about the impact you're going to have on people after you go. Are you going to cause them to have to spend 2 years of their life cleaning up after you and trying to get the paperwork cleaned up too? Because that is an issue. Sometimes you look around and you go, gosh, I sure have a lot of stuff I don't need anymore.
True.
Yeah, and what do you do with it? Do you say, well, I'm just going to leave it for the kids? Or not? Do you go through a little bit of it? It's up to you what you end up doing. But think about the impact that it'll have on somebody when you're gone.
Well, two elder friends of mine they had downsized from a house to a condo, and there was not a sense that they were immediately going to, I mean, neither one of them was sick or infirm particularly. But I remember being over at their house one I think it was probably one Christmas, and they invited me to come back in January because they wanted to talk to me about something. And their house was, they both came from fairly well-to-do families, and they had downsized a lot of things, but they still had some beautiful antiques and whatever all around the house. And they said to me, what we are doing is asking the people that we want to have something to remember us by to take one of these little Post-it notes and write your name on it and just stick it on the bottom of whatever thing you'd like to have.
Wow.
And we're not going to guarantee that you'll get it all, but that's going to be our wishes. Wow. And that way you get a thing that you want that you will remember, and you're going to remember today. And we had lunch and had drinks. It was incredibly civilized. And so I marked 3 things that were this beautiful flow blueware that I'm very fond of. Mm-hmm. And they kept saying, well, what about this thing over here? Wouldn't you like one? How about this? And I said, no, I think these things are going to remind me exactly of you too. And of course he gave me, and she did too. He gave me some really books that were really precious to him. Oh. So that just felt like such a good way to do it, is you bring people in that you love and that you want them to have something to remember you by. Mm-hmm. And you just let them pick. And if there's something that's kind of off limits, like, oh, yeah, Barbara Jean always wanted that thing, so not that, then let people know. But then if there's that, like there was one piece of that flow blueware, and I'm not an expert, but I think it was pretty old. It was like late 1800s, late 1700s, early 1800s. Yeah. And it was old and chipped, and it wasn't perfect. But that's the thing I wanted. Oh. And she said, oh, no, get this. No, put your name on this one over here, too, because look, it's all the edges are all that. And it was like, no, I think this is the thing. So yeah, I think that's a beautiful thing. That way I have the memory of the giving of that before they died and how precious that was.
That's what I was going to say. That sounds like something that is just beautiful thing to do. I remember my grandma would do that a little bit. She'd say, now, if something ever happens to me, she would never say when I die. She'd say, well, if something ever happens to me, I want you to have this, or do you want this? If something ever happens to me. And you know what? I don't know if you ever knew this or not, but the pretty milk glass lamps that I brought over to the cottage when I was staying there.
Yes. Uh-huh.
My friend had given those to me for helping her. Yeah. And so, yeah. So I've got, at least I have something to remember her by, and not that I need a thing. The thing that I want is not something that I'll get, which would be for her to still be around.
Yes, exactly.
But, and I wanted to also say, I don't think there's any perfect situation. People get embarrassed when they're telling you, if they want to talk about their family situations sometimes. And, I don't think there is any perfect situation. So don't be embarrassed if you feel like you need to talk about it. And because people don't expect perfection. They really don't. And then one other thing, and we can go on to better subject if you want. I wanted to say this gal, my friend, had a caretaker, somebody who was not formally employed by her, but someone who came in the name of, I don't know, friendship or whatever, and took care of some housework. And this fellow would cook for her and bring her food and take her to the grocery store and stuff like that. And she adored him. And she left everything to him in the will that was not validated by the judge, the will that was done away with. So that part is sad, but there's not a perfect situation, because my dilemma in all of it has been, was he taking advantage of her? And then finding that had been, probably a pattern of behavior for this man with other people as well. It makes you really wonder, well, is this what this guy does? Does he go around and make friends with lonely widows and and bring them a sandwich every now and then and inherit all their stuff. And then, but my other question is, well, if they're really satisfied with him and they love him for doing it, is it abusive? Is it fraudulent? And I have not come to a good answer about that yet.
Yeah. It's really interesting. Has he disappeared when she went into the nursing home? Did he continue to visit, or did he just disappear?
Well, a lot of this I don't know exactly the timeline on, because she had begun to get where she wouldn't answer the phone all the time. But I would, if I didn't talk to her within 2 phone calls, I would text him and he would let me know what was going on with her. Okay. So at Thanksgiving, I tried to take her plate. I'd been taking her a plate of food for 15 years at least on Thanksgiving. And when I tried to take her the plate, her place was obviously empty. I started trying to contact him then, and he didn't answer me back. And it wasn't until I said I was going to go to the authorities that he texted me back and told me that her sister had come to get her and that she had taken her. And I think what he said in the text message is, she's with her sister. And I said, okay. And asked for the phone number, didn't get it. Asked for the name, didn't get it. Started doing my own research. And eventually after, I won't bore y'all with all the details, but I eventually found the sister, got in contact with the sister, and then started getting all kinds of strange stories from the sister about this gal not being well taken care of. But because it's
let me ask you this. Did you check to see whose name her property is in?
Yes, and it's in her name still.
Okay, so she hadn't deeded it over to him or anything.
No, she had. Oh, that's good. She had drawn up a will and left everything to him, made him the executor of her estate and all this stuff. But the sister was the last person that was on the last legal will, according to the judge. So the sister told me a lot of, details and things about her level of care and so on that I hadn't actually asked for, but they were pretty awful to hear. But I honestly don't know who to believe or what to believe with it, because my friend really disliked her sister, her half-sister, and always said that she didn't want her half-sister to have anything to do with her estate because she would be unethical about it. And then all of a sudden this half-sister shows up and says, well, the caretaker that she adored is not doing a good job taking care of her, so I had her turned over to the state. And then use that as the reason to not allow me or anyone to know where she was at or to get any kind of communication to her. And indeed, I didn't hear anything, until she had almost died. And then I got, she told me she didn't have long to go. And then she told me she was gone. And something doesn't sit right with me about either one of those people, you see.
But you're unlikely to ever know the real truth. Not from anybody.
Not from any physically living human.
Right.
But I believe I know because I've experienced it. I'm 100% sure about what I'm saying. And that is, after people have passed out of this physical realm, they can still sometimes communicate.
Oh, no question.
I told you my story with my friend Norma who died. And that was another one of those things. But
review that for us again.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
She was an older woman, and she was my best friend in the hotel business. And she worked around me. She was a night auditor. Worked her ass off. She worked harder than any of those young folks, and didn't complain about it either. But anyway, she and I were good friends. And she had a specific set of instructions that she wanted carried out as well. And she had a sister in Miami. And this sister, she said, had a lot of money and didn't need any of her estate. And she used to keep her will in a bowl, in a bookcase. And every time I come over to her house, she'd point at it and she'd say, all right, now, if anything ever happens to me, you need to come in right then and grab that. Because if my sister gets wind of it, she'll grab it and we'll never see it again. And I knew it was her will. Okay. And so long story short, she died unexpectedly of a heart attack. They contacted her sister. They didn't contact me. You see, I don't know if they didn't know to or what.
If she had not given instructions that you were to be contacted?
I don't know. I don't know. Well, I mean, I'm sure in her will she did.
Well,
but
she should have given you, and I'm not going to shit on her because she's deceased. Yeah. She should have given you a copy of the will.
And now I know that, But I didn't
another
back
thing
then.
To file away for all of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good advice. And so she passed away. The hospital contacted her sister, and by the time I heard about it, her sister came in, changed the locks, and sure enough, had her ended up with her whole estate. Okay. Now, Alicia walked around for a number of years feeling terrible. I felt horrible that I hadn't somehow figured out how to mitigate that. And I was really innocent about a lot of things, including that situation, what happens when you die. And I thought that, well, maybe I should go to an attorney. Should I go to an attorney? Because her wishes were not what was carried out. And now that I'm older, I understand what happened, and I know that I couldn't have done anything unless I had had a copy of the will or been contacted about it. I didn't know when she passed away until, a day and a half later. And it was sister had already flown up here. So,
well, and let's stop and analyze that. And how would it have been? How would it have been different and better if she'd given you a copy of the will? Yes, maybe if she had taken you with her to her attorney's office and said, "This is my friend Alicia. She's in my will, and as soon as you know something, she needs to know."
Yeah,
something like that might be helpful.
Yeah. Well,
another thing is, and we did this with beloved crone Antigua, is I went with her to her doctor, and I was one of the people who was supposed to be contacted immediately upon her death. And he knew me, and I knew him, and he had my phone number and all of that. So. And these are just cautionary tales that you are telling us to remind us that you got to really cross the T's and dot the I's if you want it done the way you want it done.
I agree.
And if you don't care, it doesn't matter. But if you do care.
See, I've got some musicians friends, and they tell me that when they go, whoever gets there first can get their stuff. Just grab what you want off the wall. That's cool, but, it's actually not so good for their family. But in this case, with my friend Norma, the situation was what it was. And like I said, I felt terrible. It was like a dark cloud over me for years because I loved Norma and I would have done what she wanted me to do. I took that really seriously, but I was ignorant about the finer points of the law, and I didn't know, but so there came a day. This was long after I had left the hotel business, and I was running Action Digital, my web company, and I had to go get I had an exam, a female exam to go to, and I'd gotten into the phone book, and I picked the one that was closest to my house to go get this exam, and I went up there to get the exam, and one of the nurses came out and took a look at me and just got the strangest look on her face. And then she said something, and she asked if she could see me or something. And anyway, come to find out, it was a lady who lived and shared a property line with my old friend Norma. And Norma had told her many times, and had told her, as a matter of fact, right before she went into surgery, she had reminded her of my role in her estate. Well, then when Norma died, that woman didn't know how to find me.
Oh.
But anyway, the thing that redeemed me emotionally, because I had been under this black cloud, you remember, dark cloud about it. And that's the truth. I was incredibly sad for a number of years. The thing that redeemed it was the morning before I went to this appointment. When I woke up that morning, I'd had a dream, and it was my one and only dream that had Norma in it that I've ever had in all these years. And Norma, I was in her house, and she was looking at me, and I knew she was gone. I knew she was dead. She didn't say anything, but she pointed to the table in the kitchen there. And I walked over to the table, and there was a letter on the table, and I picked it up, and she nodded at me. And I read it, and it said, "Forgive my sister. She is full of guilt." And that is the only dream that I've ever had with Norma in it. Now, this lady, I'm going to finish the story, because when I was at the doctor's office and the lady was talking to me about all of this, she started crying. And then she went out to her car, and she came back with an 8-track cassette. And that 8-track cassette had a recording of my friend reading her will out loud and saying the date out loud and all of that stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, every bit of it. And so, you know, what I wanted to do was take it and go to an attorney and say the estate was wrongly awarded to this sister, to her sister. But I didn't, because I had a dream. And Norma told me that morning, "Forgive my sister. She's full of guilt." Now, that was a direct communication from my friend about the situation that was getting ready to happen, that I had no way of knowing that I was going to run into this woman. And I loved Norma, but honestly, I probably wasn't thinking about her the night before when I went to bed. So to have a dream like that out of the clear blue, you can't tell me that was a coincidence, because it wasn't.
No, of course it wasn't.
I'd be interested in knowing how many people who respond to our podcast have had similar things happen to them. I'll bet you quite a few of them. Y'all let us know. I'd love to hear your stories. I really would love to hear your stories.
Well, and I would like to say that we love you, Alicia, and you are obviously in some pain about the recent death of your friend, but also about this older death. So, on behalf of the Weird Mountain Gals and I mean the Weirdlings and all the people that listen, we got you. We're here for you.
Thank you. I mean, it's hard, but it's better knowing that you've tried to do the right thing.
Yes, I agree.
Even when it's like there came a point with Norma's situation where I realized that it was useless, that there was nothing I could do that was going to get Norma's estate back so that I could donate half of it to her church and half of it to this animal charity. You see? And strangely enough, with Brenda, when I was on her will, she wanted me to divide her estate up to a couple of animal charities too, and then one other clinic. So, so that's why every now and then y'all will hear me go off on this subject about get your stuff straightened up before you die. These are the reasons why. That's why.
And y'all, there are so many resources online about all the documentation you need to do, all the people you need to inform. And I'm sure that Alicia will find those and tack them onto this when this comes out on Sunday. But take a little time now. It's still too cold and wet to get outside and garden. So put down your seed catalogs for 5 minutes and take a look at what you need to do to prepare your family and I'm going to say the people around you that you love, who are, whether they're your blood family or your intentional family.
Yeah.
And don't leave them trying to figure it out.
Yep.
Just give them a sign and write it down. Write it down.
Yeah, writing it down is the best thing you can do. Recording it some way is also good. I don't know. I was thinking about it the other day. I thought, well, what if I have to go get a test for dementia? What am I going to do? And the answer is I'm going to make sure my shit is together before I go get the test. And
that you've got people around you that love you and that you can trust, who will make sure that even if your brain is not functioning at its highest level, have your best interest at heart. So, we do live with the specter of death around us, probably closer than a lot of folks do. And I don't begrudge it. I feel like it prepares me for my eventual death. But every now and then we can get a little morose. So this Zoom meeting is getting ready to end here, this recording. We'll record another portion of the show here, and it might be about death, but it'll be in a better mood. How about that? All right, here we go.
All right, I'll see you in a bit.
I'll see you in a minute.
That voice, since we're on the subject, this must be a death episode. I asked my friend told me that I should play a rerun this weekend, that we should do a rerun and do the death episode.
Well, I guess that's what we're doing, a rerun of death. Well, but we are at a funny place right now. Me, maybe more than you, but I don't know, in that now people are dying and I'll go, well, but I mean, that person was just 10 years older than me, or that person was my age, or, and I guess that's just what you get when you're, I'm 66, almost 67. And there'll be people that'll die and I'll go, well, I didn't realize that person was that young, and they'll be 75. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm going Friday. I'm going to a service for our old neighbor who was in our class as well. And he had a massive stroke unexpectedly and died. And it's like, I was thinking last week, about my old, group of people that I used to run around with. And it's like, oh my God, I never wanted to be the last one standing. I never thought about that. And I think I'm too young for it. But it just goes to show you that they lived some hard lives, I guess, And
I mean, I grew up in the country in a rural high school, and there were people that died while I was in school, and then there were I don't want to say a lot of people, and I can't call how many there were, but people that died right out of high school. They were 19, 20 years old.
Yeah.
And often it was death by misadventure. Let me be clear.
I was going to say fast living gets you in your 20s.
Yeah.
I used to think I was bulletproof. I could not die. Evidently, that's what I thought, honestly, because I would do all the stupid stuff as a young person, and now I'm like, how did I survive?
I think a lot of us were that way. Hell, half the time I think I'm bulletproof now, and boy, my body will tell me right up front, "What you just do? What the hell did you just do?
What did you just do?"
And it's like, well, my will. What did they say? The spirit was willing, but the flesh just couldn't come to terms with what I just did. Yeah. I'll pick up something really heavy and think, well, I can carry this from yonder beyond her. And I get like 3 steps and go, I can't carry 60 pounds no more. What's wrong with me? Well, I'm old. That's what's wrong. I'm at least getting old, and plenty of people in the world never get to this place. So I'm terribly grateful.
Me too.
Even if I am, I get bumfuzzled about things. Why can't I do that? Because your body can't do it no more. Oh, okay.
Well, I got to tell you though, if that's the way that it is, and I know it is, we are all lucky if we get older. We have to be like the coolest generation though.
Oh, absolutely.
We listen to the best music. When you come back, when you die, and you decide you're coming back, are you going to have like a theme song?
Oh, sweet mother of all the gods, I hope I don't have to come back.
Well, you're going to want to say hello to some folks every now and then.
Oh, you mean come back as a ghost? Yeah. I don't mind haunting people, but I don't want to go through that whole, God, 0 to 30. No, ma'am. That was some hard work, and I made it through. Hard work though. But now I want to go back, if it doesn't bother you. I want to go back and talk about this feller that may or may not have taken advantage of your friend and other people.
Okay.
And I want to say, I've got a friend right now, somebody I ran with in high school, and she had a stroke. Oh gosh, 3 years ago, I guess now, and was, she was in the hospital. She was laid up. Then she was in rehab for a while. Then she finally came home, and she's got a wheelchair and a walker and all that stuff. She's not 100%. And not only did it affect her physically, there has been some mental effect for that too.
Yeah.
And she is, when you were describing your friend, it just made me think of her. She is, I believe, twice divorced and lives alone and is alone. And she has a handful of friends, but not too many, and they're not real close. And her family, she and her family are not as close as they could be. I don't even know how to say that in a polite way.
It's just the normal way families are anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, her mama died end of last year. And me and another friend that whole gang used to run together, we showed up for the visitation and talked to her. And she is not all there.
Mm.
Our friend is not all there. And she needs someone to guide her in some of the stuff that she gets into. Like, she had a feller, and this was before her mama died, this feller who, he thought she was so pretty, and she met him on Facebook, and he was obviously a damn scam artist.
Yeah, I was going to say red flags.
Yeah. And so I got into, she said, well, my niece feels the same way, and I think you're just both wrong. So I did the kind of sleuthing that we all do on Facebook, and I found her niece's name, and I sent her a Facebook message, and I said, look, I'm a friend of your aunt, and we have got to stop her before she makes a huge mistake. So she and I talked about it, and you could tell there was a level of frustration from the family because they had told her, this guy is scamming you. Don't talk to him. And she just wouldn't do it. She wouldn't stop. She said, well, even if he's not real, I really love talking to him. Oh, and he's funny, and I really like him. And then it started to be he works, on an oil rig in Europe, and he can't get home, and his boss is mean, and it's all this stuff. And I love her, and I try my best to just say, this is not real in any sense. Mm. And he is not going to come and sweep you off your feet, and he's not going to ply you with riches or any of that. But she's stubborn, and she wants to believe. even though we have pointed out to her, well, here's that same picture of that man you say is your boyfriend, and here he is, and he's a submarine captain in France or whatever, but she just doesn't believe it. She wants to believe so hard.
Yes,
it breaks my heart, because on the one hand, it's like you were saying about your friend's friend. Yeah. On the one hand, it's obvious he's a scam artist, and on the other hand, she ain't got nothing to scam.
Right.
So does it hurt her to believe that? Does it hurt her to have moments of comfort and warmth from somebody? Does it? You can't get nothing out of her.
That's I kind of feel like my friend, lived every aging person's nightmare, in that she became unwell and unable to take care of herself, and she was preyed on. In this case, I feel like maybe by two people, not just one family member and one person. But yeah, that question that you ask is so valid. It's like, is it wrong? Probably yes, if you're taking advantage of somebody and you know that. And I keep coming down to just a couple of little things that he did towards the end there that makes me feel like, well, you know what? Innocent people don't act like that.
Yes.
But up until the very end, she would tell you that he was the greatest thing ever. And she point blank would tell me that she's leaving everything to him, and that he had earned it, and that's what she wanted. And, and she'd say that without any prompting. And so, I'm so torn about it. I wish that I had more of a clue of what might be getting ready to happen. I just didn't know. And so, I'm going to be mad a little bit at myself for that too.
But I don't know that it would have helped, honestly, Alicia, if you had sat down with her at her house and gone over some of the things that he had done and what you suspected. She probably would have said something like, well, he has been a treasure for me, and he has done for me, and he has taken care of me when nobody else did.
Right.
And there's value in that too, no matter what his intentions were.
Yeah. So it puts you in this place of, it's an uncomfortable place to be, because there's not a black and white here. There's not a completely right or completely wrong. That's shadow work right there, isn't it?
Boy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we are at that. We are in those ages when I think there's going to be more and more of that.
Yeah.
Well, that sure did look like a con job, but she sure did die with a smile on her face. So was that worth it? Was it worth it? And I think if we were talking about somebody who is going to leave their children with nothing, and the children are dependent on that, or, something like that, that's a whole different thing. But if it's a person who is alone with no children and no spouse and not a lot of family left around them, and they lose whatever they were going to leave, well, they were going to leave it to the animal shelter and to the whatever your friend was going to leave it to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. It's a really tough ethical question, I think.
It is. And, people show their asses at times like that. And in a way, you really get to know somebody's true personality. I remember, and when I say every family goes through it, mine has gone through it too. And I remember times when something had happened that was just, jaw dropping. It's like somebody died, and before their kids could get there, somebody else had gone in and gone through their home. Yeah. Or, somebody had died, and when the other child got there, they found the family Bible in the trash can. Stuff like that.
Yes.
That's hard. And that's one of those many reasons that you should do it the way that you were talking about. I don't know. That's probably not legal to do that. So you need to know what you're legal stuff is when it comes to your things that are hanging on the wall and contents of your home and estate.
But I've heard too many stories, and I can think of two people immediately, so I know there's more than that, who, yes, their beloved parent, the last parent standing, dies. Mm-hmm. And by the time they get to the house, because they either live farther away or, or their life is more complicated, I don't know. They get there and anything of value has been taken without consultation at all. It's not like they called up the other sibling and said, okay, we're at Mama's now, and Bob's going to take this, and I'm going to take this, and Missy's going to take this. They just went in and stripped the damn house of anything of extrinsic value.
Right.
Now, in both of these cases, the people got the things that meant the most to them. Mm-hmm. And that's the important thing. I think of one woman who she got there and it was like vultures had picked over the bones of Grandma's house.
Wow.
But the one thing that was left was the old spice rack. Mm. And it was one of those old-fashioned spice racks. And that meant more to her than anything else would have, because her grandmother taught her to cook.
Oh.
Yeah. And then she found, I think, a couple of recipes in the drawer in her grandmother's handwriting.
Oh,
so
wow.
That was a very precious thing, but it doesn't take away from the fact that the rest of the family had just pillaged the place like a bunch of heathens.
Yeah. Well, I hope that it never happens to anybody that is listening to this podcast. How about that? I wish it would just stop right now, but we know it won't. So instead,
that's you wishing for humans not to be humans.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of unrealistic there.
Well, but I think we came up with some things in that first segment that will help. If you know how you want that stuff dispersed, write it down. Write it down. And tell the people you're giving it to, I'm writing it down. Mm-hmm. And tell the people you ain't giving it to that you're writing it down. Tell everybody you're writing it down.
Yep, tell them all. And everybody now has got a phone that'll take video. When the thing about video recording is, I'm no expert, so I don't know what the laws in somebody's state or country are. But I will tell you that when it comes to proving things like foragers, mushroom hunters who are out there trying to get the first morel of the season or something, when we want to prove something, we have to have it recorded with that day's newspaper with the date showing. Mm-hmm. Or the other thing would be that I've noticed them doing in the foraging groups is they'll take like a receipt from a Hardee's or something, some drive-through they stopped at, and it'll have the date on it.
Huh.
You see, and they'll put that down. But the newspaper is the thing that has been more traditional. If you are recording yourself, make sure and have the newspaper there. Say the date, say your name. Tell them, do the things that you think you should. Learn about it first. But do something. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be fancy. Just do something.
And if you can afford to go to an attorney to get that paperwork done, I don't think it's terribly expensive in most cases.
Probably not.
You might. And you know what? You might be helpful is to have it, whatever you write down, to have it notarized.
Yeah, and most people can get a free notary from their bank. If you go to the bank with it, they'll notarize it. And I think you have to have 2 witnesses in North Carolina for your will. I think.
I think so. But pretty sure. Y'all, we will find the links for all that and put it in.
Yeah. But and if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that I saw a place one time that had like last will and testament and power of attorney, medical power of attorney, and some other paperwork that were templates that you could download for free.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're out there.
And there's plenty of them that you can purchase. Okay, so you don't have to spend a whole huge amount. Mm-mm. There's plenty of stuff out there. I know even Staples You can go to Staples and walk out of there with a kit that will include the documentation that you need.
Yeah, so, and go ahead and do it, because if you really care that you want your granddaughter to get that spice rack, then let your will be known.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm still earwormed by Hotel California. I've been hearing it.
I believe you mean Motel Carolina.
Motel Carolina.
Welcome to the Motel Carolina. Anyway, so yes, and then the other thing you need to do is you need to plan your service.
Yeah,
and you should plan it. I love it when people start doing the things like they wanted to have one of those. They wanted to have a crank on the coffin, that it got cranked at some point in the service, and it played the Jack in the Box thing, like na 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 na. I thought that would be hilarious.
That would be hilarious. That would be really hilarious. Yeah, yeah.
And, I plan funerals and do funerals a few times a year, and it is a lovely chance for people to remember somebody that they love. And yes, if you belong to a particular religious tradition, you may want it just exactly the way the Baptists do it, with an altar call and everything else. You may choose to do that. But a lot of people in the pagan and heathen communities, they were raised Christian of some stripe, but that's not what they want when their funeral comes. So again, write it down.
Yep.
And get your friends to sign off on it and say, yeah, I'll help you do that. I will.
Yeah. And, our friend Brittany has made me more aware, I should say, of the niche of death doula.
Oh, it is such beautiful, good work. My friend Angie Buchanan is actually coming into town, into Asheville. Well, I mean, technically, she's coming into Black Mountain in April.
Mm-hmm.
To do a whole weekend's worth of certifying classes to be a death doula.
Is she the one doing the certifying, or is she taking?
Yeah, I think she does. Yeah, she's a certified death doula.
I saw something about that not too long ago, and I remember thinking then, wow, that's so necessary.
And I will. I'll send you that to add that link.
Yeah,
she's very good.
I'll bet she is. Yeah, I'll bet she is.
Well, I've always called it, I mean, now they call it death doula. I've always called it midwifing. Midwifing death.
I was thinking that in my mind.
But either way makes sense. Death doula has that lovely DD alliteration. So I guess that's the reason it's stuck.
I guess. Who knows? But yeah.
It takes a particular person to be able to do that, but it's such good work, such important work.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you have a certain song that you want to have played at your service?
that changes often, but I am guilty of. I've sketched out some things I want at my service, but I haven't written it all down. So I don't know. I've said this before. Maybe we need to have like a big online Zoom sort of event where we all do that.
Let's do it.
Because then, ideas will come sparking off and you go, oh, yeah, no, I want that too. I want that.
That's a great idea.
That'd be fun. We could all have a little drink or something that we want to drink and just go at it.
That'd be great. And then when we're done, the next day when we wake up, we can look and see what our wishes were. Know?
Did I really want swans to come down the center aisle of the church? What was I thinking?
Should I go ahead and buy that bubble machine now so they could have it ready?
Yeah. Well, I want a big reception afterwards, and I want it to have a sausage gravy fountain. Have you seen those? Oh, my gosh. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
I haven't.
Here, have biscuits and gravy. Biscuits and gravy on the house. Yeah, that'd be good.
I may change mine before it's over, but right now I basically want the equivalent of a campfire. I just want some fire involved, and I want some guitars there, and some voices, and some big rocks to sit on if they forgot their chairs,
And you know what? Anybody can have as many memorial services as they want.
Yep.
So if your friend does not get a memorial service, you can have a memorial service even if her ashes are not there. It doesn't matter.
I am going to have a memorial service for this spring.
Good for you.
The question is it going to be at the lake, at the picnic area there, or up on the mountain in Black Mountain? So yeah, for sure that's going to happen.
Yeah,
without a doubt. And I don't need permission to memorialize her. Matter of fact, I'd love it if all of y'all, anybody interested, can come out and say their respects and say hello to her for the first time. She was that kind of person. She loved everybody. She used to throw people off because they'd meet her one time and she'd start saying, "I love you, pumpkin. I love you, honey." So that's just the kind of person that she was. But yeah, definitely going to do that. And we'll have some music and all of that.
Some poetry, probably.
Maybe.
Stories, all that stuff.
She was a clogger at one time.
Oh, my goodness.
She used to have a clogging team in Asheville, and they would competitive clog. She was the coach at that point.
I do love me some clogging.
Do you? Do you know how to clog?
Oh my gosh, yes.
And do you buck dance?
What?
You ever buck dance along with the clogging? Okay.
I don't think my feet could stand up for either one of them now, but yes. Yeah. In fact, a friend of mine was having her 50th birthday party, and I think I was probably in my 30s or early 40s then, and she was having it down at Bill Stanley's downtown.
Oh, I love that place.
And it was a country western theme, so we all had our cowboy hats and jeans on and stuff. and then they commenced to clogging, and the caller said something about get up here with your tap shoes on, because we're gonna buck it up. And we all got up there and started clogging, and my friend came over to me because she was not clogging, and she said, "How in the world do you know how to clog?" And I said, "Girl, I was raised in Inca Candler, North Carolina. Everybody there knows how to clog."
I drove through your neighborhood the other day, and I was thinking, that's where my friends is from. It doesn't look that bad. It's not that rough. Nope.
Oh, yeah, it's rough. It really is pretty rough.
Yeah, it's all rough now.
Well, a friend of mine she lives up on, near what we called Benson Holler.
Okay.
And they were some of the last people to get potable water in that water disaster we just had. And I said, you ain't got enough $1 million homes up there, or they'd have fixed it by now. You need more people from Florida with big old $1 million homes.
You're not kidding.
Big old condominiums.
Yeah, and then
give you some damn water.
That's right. You'd hear phrases like standard of living, things like quality housing. Stuff you've never heard before, probably. But you know what? It all comes at a price. All of that comes at a price.
And I know who's paying that price, and it ain't the people who's benefiting from it.
Well, and it's not. Some of it is not even a money price; it's a price of giving up your
exactly
area.
Right.
Yeah, I used to have big feelings about that subject matter, and I had a potential client one time who came in and he wanted a website, and it was going to be a medium price website, not cheap, and he came in and he started griping at me. He was casual about it. He thought he was just making conversation. I was so offended that I dropped him as a client. But because he was talking about, in Miami, we do this, and then in Florida, we do that. And I would not put up with this and he was griping because he had called to get a quote on somebody building a deck on the side of his house. And he ended up telling me about it, how he didn't like the quote process down here and the good old boy vibe. And he said a couple of derogatory comments. And then he was like, this was wrong with the roads, and this was wrong with the speed limits and stuff like that. And I remember saying, well, why did you move here?
Yeah.
Why did you move here if everything is wrong? So, and yeah, I refuse to do business with him.
Good for you. That's good.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm proud of that or not, but it happened. So whatever. You would have kicked his butt out. You would have been like, okay, see ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. And that would have been it for him.
Well, I've done that more than once.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I've not made friends with my attitude about $1 million homes.
Yeah.
Replacing grandma's house that somebody could have afforded, but now nobody can.
Yeah. It's hard to watch
about that. But I mean, that water stuff was a mess. Just a big mess.
It was. I'll put a link there in case. I think I already put one link there a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about it, but I'll put another one up there. So let's do some cleanup here. First thing I promised was various links. And then the other thing you and I were talking about was having a death party, having a hosted my own death party or whatever. Or
come to my funeral.
Yeah, how about I'll die my way funeral?
Well, it'd be nice if we could choose to die our way, but celebrate my life the way I want you to.
Like that.
But now, I will say, I'm going to say it real quick. When people come to me and they want me to do a memorial and they go, now, I know that she would not want people crying. She would, and I just tell them flat out, it is important that we all cry. It is. Yeah. And not just put a sweet face on it. Oh, I loved her blood. Is for all of us together to have public corporate grief. It's really an important part of the grieving process and the healing process.
It is. I agree with you. I heard your knitting needles just then. Is that what I heard?
Y'all, I'm knitting yet another green scarf, two shades of green.
So last week I kept, or I think it was last week, it might have been the week before, I kept hearing the little
click, click, click.
And I thought, well, is Mrs. Ghosty back? The one that got us.
Oh, right. Well, I got my plastic ones out this week instead of the big wooden ones because I thought they would make less noise, but I guess not.
No, it's fine. It's just, I've got that weird ear. But
and our folks know they ain't neither one of us sitting here doing nothing while we talk. That ain't how we work.
No, I'm painting an oil portrait right now as we shit. Anyway, yeah. Well, thank you for getting me in a better mood. I feel distinctly better than I did.
Good. I am glad.
Yeah. So hopefully
you got a lot of work to do. You got a lot of work to do with the healing and the grief and just the details.
Yeah.
And I want to give a shout out to our friend Lisa, who is doing the same, walking that same path, hoeing that same row with her mama. So
I'm so sorry about it.
And I'm just going to spill the beans. And if you want to crow it out, you can. But today is Miss Alicia's mama's birthday. So let's say happy birthday to her. Big old happy birthday to you. Because I'm so glad she's here, just keeping us all on the straight and narrow.
Oh, yeah. I ordered her some magic mics to be delivered. That's what she calls Jersey mics. She always calls it magic mics. She can't remember Jersey mics. So
or maybe she would like to. Maybe she would like to have that sandwich delivered by a male stripper. I'm just saying it's her birthday.
Well, probably back when she wasn't blind, it would have been more fun. Although, maybe she can. Well, never mind. My brain can't do that. Sorry.
So whatever you do not send a male stripper to Alicia's mama's house because she can't see it well enough to enjoy it.
Yeah, it'll just be wasted money is the thing.
Make sure he at least smells good so she can at least go, oh, he brought me the sandwich and he smelled so nice too.
She likes Old Spice, I'm sure.
I wore Old Spice when I was in college. I wore my grandfather's Old Spice. It was during Annie Hall days. And I would sometimes wear a white dress shirt with a big old necktie and Old Spice.
Oh, did you wear a hat?
Yep, sometimes.
I love that look. I don't think I did that look because of the tie part, but I did like that look very much. I wore saddle shoes with dress pants.
Oh, nice.
Jacket. Oh, yeah. I thought
nice.
That was snazzy. Anyway, well, I guess I should let you go. I know you're busy.
I reckon I need to make supper. You gonna make some supper?
I am going to make some supper. Well, I don't know if I am or not. Never mind. Who knows? That remains to be seen. So it depends on appetites.
And I know this is the Appalachian goodbye, but I was out towards your favorite place to dine today, and it said J&S Fresh Food or something like that. And I thought, oh boy, is that a place where I could actually get some produce? And then I went, oh no, it's just J&S Cafeteria has rebranded.
Really? That's interesting.
Yes. They have a brand new sign, and it's J&S. I think it's Fresh Food, something like that.
Interesting. Well, it'll be the first time in 30 years that they've changed anything.
I do love a cafeteria, though. As soon as I got teeth again, I'm going to go to one.
Well, call me. Oh,
okay.
I'll tell you, we'll go to the Madness sometime, and I'll take you.
No, we will not.
We won't. Oh, that's right. You said that's right. Never mind.
I mean, I don't mind it, but there ain't nothing to it as far as I can tell.
Well, no. You know what? I'm going to take you to Umi's in Hendersonville and get you some real sushi.
We have been to Umi's, and it was very good.
When you say we, me and you?
You and I did that, yes, ma'am.
Wow.
You remember we went thrift shopping?
Oh, yes, I do.
Down that one road, and that was Umi's that we had lunch at, wasn't it?
If it was the best sushi you've ever tasted, then yes.
Well, it was good sushi. I don't know if I can't judge if it was the best. It was good.
I do love good sushi. Well,
me too.
We will have to. And then next week, I'm just determined I'm not going to any memorial services. And
nothing.
Everything is going to be fine.
You ain't going to deal with no death if you can help it.
Well, I'm always, it's around.
I know. What did you say last week? It just sits by me all the time.
Well, yeah.
You're turning into a grandma right before our eyes.
A grandma?
Yeah. Well, death just sits by me, honey, all the time. Would you hand me my snuff?
Yes. Back in my day.
I know. I keep thinking we are done, and then I remember something else I was going to say. Today, I bought a chamber pot with a lid.
No, you didn't.
I did. I went to a thrift store, and I saw it. And, the telltale thing is a soup tureen has 2 handles, but a chamber pot only has 1. So I turned it over to see what they had labeled it as at the thrift store, just so I could have a laugh. And by golly, it was half price, and I got it for a very good price, and I bought myself a chamber pot.
Oh, well, and now if you don't have enough, bowls for your soup,
Well, I'm thinking it would be really funny to use it as a soup tureen, because I don't think it's ever been used as a chamber pot. It looks too shiny and new.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah, that'd be pretty funny. That'd be hilarious.
You need to do that. No kidding.
At my funeral, I want some soup served in a chamber pot. And I want it to be beefy soup with chunks in it. That'd be good.
And do we bring the toilet with the pansies coming out of it and set it over to the side?
Soon. And you know what? We replaced the toilet at this house, the one in the basement. Yeah. I'm going to take that out there, and I'll have me 2 toilets, one for either side of the door.
Oh, my goodness.
My petunias in. Yes, ma'am. Weird Mountain, look out. More too.
I can't wait. And I'm so excited about spring out there. I am.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, thank you for hanging out. I know you're busy because you've got all this stuff going on, and so I really appreciate you accommodating my schedule.
Well, mostly, I got teeth stuff going on, and then I'm having my lovely colonoscopy on the 1st of February, so I'm just catching up on a bunch of physical ailment-related stuff that needs to get done. And write a book, of course.
And bulk prep.
Yes, we were supposed to talk about that today, so next week we'll talk about Emil.
Hey,
say thank you for spending your time with us here at Wyrd Mountain Gals. We sure do appreciate it. You know, I know time is the most important thing we have, so I promise that if you take your time to listen to us, we'll take our time to continue to be weird. Many thanks to Sunslice Records for all the help. We couldn't do it without you, Craig. Check out our social media for information, community, or a few laughs. WYRD Mountain Gals.
WYRD Radio.